Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another minicast. I have titled this one The Space Force because we're going to be looking at how Donald Trump has ordered the Pentagon immediately to establish a Space Force. That's right, it sounds like something out of Starship Troopers, but nope, that's our reality. And this shouldn't come as a surprise to people. If you've been paying attention to the show, you've noticed how probably since about 2016, 2017 for sure, we've paid attention to the slow break-off, the slow breakaway civilization, the military-industrial complex doing what they do. But if anything, let me see if I can get this clip together for you guys of a more, not necessarily a more recent, but back in 2017, December 11th, Donald Trump talked about how he was having a new space directive. With that being said, let's jump right into the show. And with this new space directive, I'll get this clip ready for you guys, he's talking about establishing bases on the moon and Mars. Now that's controversial without a doubt. Have we been to the moon? I don't know. Is there a Mars? Can we get to Mars? I'm not necessarily sure, but I think looking at all of this is what's supposed to inspire Americans and inspire the rest of the world to achieve and want better. But with that being said, let's get this clip together of Donald Trump's new space directive.
We'll learn. The directive I'm signing today will refocus America's space program on human exploration and discovery. It marks an important step in returning American astronauts to the moon for the first time since 1972 for long-term exploration and use. This time, we will not only plant our flag and leave our footprint, we will establish a foundation for an eventual mission to Mars and perhaps someday to many worlds beyond. This directive will ensure America's space program once again leads and inspires all of humanity. The pioneer spirit has always defined America, and we're picking that up in many other fields. I think you see that. I think it's obvious. All you have to do is look at what's happening with the markets and all of the great things that are happening. We're leading in many different fields again, and it'll get more and more obvious as you go along. After braving the vast unknown, and we'll learn. The directive I'm signing today will refocus.
Now, what I wanted to do by pointing that out is showing how what he's saying, establishing a base in space, trying to make a presence in our atmosphere, there's nothing new. Let me put up this article for you guys. This is from thesun.co.uk. Conspiracy theorists claim plan to create Asgardia, a space nation, in orbit above Earth. It says it's a secret Illuminati plot to take over the world. Now, for people who are curious as to what this was put up November 2nd, 2016. Asgardia is basically a breakaway civilization. And I reported on this. Basically, you know, they fired off a piece of equipment into space, claimed that it was his own nation, and the idea behind this is to do that, break away from the Earth, be free of the restraints of typical Earth politics, to start basically their own, just that, breakaway civilization in space. Now, this isn't a new theory. This isn't even a new reality. What we're actually talking about, to some degree, is the deep space program, the secret space program. This is very real. I've been paying attention to the black budgets, where people are, how people are getting this money, how organizations are getting this money. You know, how there's an entire deep state living off of trillions and billions of siphoned off dollars, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I've gone over it in my Terraforming Earth series. I would definitely advise you guys to check it out. But what I'm trying to get at by looking at this is Donald Trump talking about a space force isn't new. There's actually been a lot of different talk about things like the floating space city Asgardia, you know, and how they have held meetings on Earth to dispel its fears that it will be a kingdom. This is something that we're following. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to the show since Donald Trump has been in office, I've talked about how, you know, he's going to bring in the technocracy. He's going to bring in all this other stuff. He's been meeting with people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates. I'm missing another one, but all the leading technocrats of today, and all these different people have their own hands and feet in one kind of a space exploration or blue orbit or blue origin. They're all working on space. They're all working on getting just off the planet. This isn't new. You see, if anything, let's listen to one of the more recent times that Trump has teased the Space Force. This was just earlier this year of May of 2017. Let's take a listen. Well, maybe. Some of these clips want to work, some don't. But he made this statement May 7th whenever he was talking to the U.S. Marines at the Miramar Air Station in San Diego. He was talking about how there is a new branch of the military service being created. Maybe.
It will be part of the 5 proud branches of the United States Armed Forces: Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and the Coast Guard. And we're actually thinking of a 6th, and that would be the Space Force. Does that make sense? The Space Force, General. You probably haven't even heard that. I'm just telling you now. This is perhaps because we're getting very big in space. It will be part of the 5.
And again, you know, the reason why he's making that kind of statement is because he's alluded to it numbers of times, but nobody seemed to caught on to it. And now, just 3 days ago, as we're making this video, Trump has ordered the Pentagon to immediately establish
When it comes to defending America, it is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space. So important. Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. It's a big statement. We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space Force, separate but equal. It is going to be something so important. General Dunford, if you would carry that assignment out, I would be very greatly honored also. Where's General Dunford? General? Got it? Let's go get it, General. When it comes to defending America, it is not enough.
And so there you have it. You know, he's literally talking about how they're going to establish a 6th branch of the armed service, of the armed forces, the Space Force, separate but equal. What this is, and I've talked about this before in our Instagram story all throughout the week, what this is the slow disclosure that they have these types of breakaway civilization types of technologies, these what would be considered off-world technologies. During Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Maria, we talked about how they have space-based weapon lasers, how they're able to excite the ionosphere and the atmosphere, shooting lasers down into the ground, and then basically creating weather modification, geoengineering, creating storms and everything else. That's what this is, so to speak. We already have a force in space. We already have fleets in space. And for our flat Earth friends, I'm not talking about, you know, somewhere in Orion 6 in the craziest deep galaxy or something like that. I'm talking about near orbit, hovering above us. This is what some of the UFOs are. This is some of what the lights are. You know, you could go into depth about what this actually is. But my interpretation of this, of Donald Trump announcing this in the way that he has, you know, incrementally, is him trying to say that, yes, not only are we in space, not only are we doing these types of things, but we're also going to expand it. We're going to push it even farther. Now, back in December of 2017, I covered this in our episode, The Breakaway Force. I'll put that in the description bar below so you guys can listen to it. Unfortunately, YouTube deleted it when it went through its censorship rampage. But what I'm simply trying to illustrate to you guys is that this is not a new concept. He's been talking about the Space Force for a minute now, slowly making preparations and slowly getting off enough money just so people are aware. And because people are paying attention to it now, it'll get that much more traction because it is moving along getting information, getting traction. We'll see where this goes. People are paying attention to things like these children being caught in cages, separating families. Well, as I've talked about this before, what we're seeing right now is the blatant display of what they have planned for us in the future, to where we are locked up, to where they are fine, to where they overrule us. They want to put us in cages as they break off into space, watching us, releasing bioweapons, doing all kinds of different things. We've got to understand the times that we are in. Yes, this is momentous. But what does this mean? What kinds of other things are happening? Pay attention to things such as Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. All of these things are playing in accordance. We'll keep an eye on this as this story develops, and even as the Space Force develops. We'll keep an eye on all of this as it continues, as we already have, because this is very monumental stuff if you think about it. A new branch of the service that's basically not terrestrial, really kind of crazy. So a lot of different things are setting up, not only for the political scale, the geopolitical scale, terrestrial scale, but now also extraterrestrial scale. Things are getting kind of crazy here. But this is what I mean by the TV reality. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noise Freedom Faction, out.